Hi everyone, I'm just going to wait for another few seconds because I can still see numbers coming up as people are joining in. Okay, so I think we'll kick off now. Hi, my name is Nicholas Taylor. I'm a research scientist here at UWA, and I'm here today to introduce you to the Masters in Biomedical Science program. As we start today, I'd like to acknowledge that University of Western Australia is located on Noongar land, and that the Noongar people remain the spiritual and cultural custodians of the land and continue to practice their values, contribute to science, their languages, beliefs and knowledge. So today, what I'm here to do is just to give you a brief outline of the Masters of Biomedical Sciences program. This program would be attractive to people that have studied undergraduate biomedical research, undergraduate biomedical sciences degrees. Also people that have studied genetics and molecular biology and biochemistry as well. And those people can then move into the biomedical specific research area. So the course itself is made up of 2 core units, and these core units include a theory of genetics and molecular biology as well as epidemiology. And they'll also introduce you to practical skills in genomics, proteomics and metabolomics, and also recombinant DNA methods and bioinformatics. And so these core units are common to the 2 specializations that we have. We have a neuroscience specialization and a biochemistry and molecular biology specialization. So then you carry out 4 specialized units, which are separate for each of those 2 specializations. And for those students that are coming from a background that's not biomedical, we have 4 conversion units. So the standard program for those that are coming from a non-biomedical background takes place over 2 years. But those that have already had a strong biomedical background, in some cases won't have to complete those 4 conversion units. And so then they don't have, so their degree will take them 1.5 years. As part of this project, we also have, part of this course, we also have the option of doing a research project or a research dissertation, or other units which are about work experience in course units. And they provide you from a non-research future that might be involved in the government departments or working for things that are related to biomedical applications in hospitals or research institutions. Whereas those people that typically do the research project are people that are looking on to possibly going on for further study or working in research laboratories. And then we also have 2 optional units on top of those components as well. So when we look at the specializations, as I mentioned, we have 2 specializations. The first is the neuroscience specialization. And here we're harnessing biomedical science to investigate a range of different things in the neuroscience specialization. And these are examples of projects or kind of research that's going on currently in the specialization. When you enroll for your Masters of Biomedical Science, you'll start off doing some of the core units or the conversion units. And then during that process, you make a decision about whether you want to do a research project or not, and initiate making contact with supervisors. And the specialization coordinators will help you find a supervisor to carry out a research project in your particular area. So this neuroscience specialization will look at things like the integration between the central nervous system and hormone systems with respect to things like obesity or stress or reproduction. In this specialization, you'll be introduced to a wide range of methods and approaches that are used in neuroscience. And some of those will include, as you can see on the right here, some imaging technologies that are looking at the way in which certain areas of the brain are being stimulated. We'll also examine the neural mechanisms that are involved in neurodevelopmental or acquired neurological disorders, such as schizophrenia, autism, depression, or even traumatic brain injuries. And it will also provide you with knowledge and skills and clinical evidence around the design and development and delivery of therapeutic drugs for people with neurological conditions or comorbidities. The other specialisation that we have in the Masters of Biomedical Science is the Biochemistry and Molecular Biology specialisation. And this is focused on the molecular basis of disease and a lot of the biochemical and genetic basis of certain conditions. And so we have a range of projects that are available in this specialisation as well. And these are some examples that I've actually pulled out from students that are doing projects this year. And so we have examples of people that are looking at the role of taurine in muscular dystrophy. We also have people that are looking at the role of epigenetic memory in stem cells and examining how those stem cells differentiate into all the different cell types that we have inside the human body. We also have projects that are looking at synthetic biology circuits and using combinatorial synthesis of orthogonal timer circuits and their applications in the production of antimicrobial peptides, which are important in the treatment of certain conditions. We also have projects that are looking at a range of projects that are looking at a range of different cancer things. And I've chosen here to highlight just the examination of non-concatenal nucleic acids, which are the nucleic acids that form in our DNA, can often form these unusual structures, and these have been linked to breast cancer. We also have projects that are based around the allergenic responses of certain of people to certain allergens. And so I'm highlighting here one case of the examination of the impact of low molecular weight glutenins from bread flour. And so the gluten-free products that we see on our shelves are aimed at the market of people that are affected by these glutenins. And so, as I said, we have a really wide range of projects, and this is really just scratching the surface of the kind of projects that are available in the specializations for the Masters of Biomedical Science. When you go through that process of enrolling for the Masters of Biomedical Science, you will enroll during that first period when you're at UWA. You can then make contact with both the people in the School of Molecular Sciences and the School of Health Sciences. They typically have a booklet which highlights the specialization projects that different supervisors are offering. And then they, during your first period of time here at UWA, you can meet up with those supervisors, discuss those projects, and see if you generate an interest in that area of research that you want to do for your research project. Or at the same time, during that first little period, you might decide that research projects aren't the path that you want to investigate and to study down, and you might feel that you're better placed in a role in organizations such as the public sector, that running hospitals and using the knowledge that you built from your master's degree to understand the applications and the types of work that are required in the biomedical space. So I'd love to now open it up for any questions that anybody has. And I'd be happy to try and answer them for you now. So while we're waiting for some questions, I'll talk about the experiences that students often have when they're coming to do research projects. So quite often, the biggest thing that students learn during the process of carrying out a postgraduate degree is they learn a lot about themselves. And so you learn a lot about the understanding of how you work as a person and how you work in a research environment and how you'll best use your time and your time management skills to develop as a person as much as the research that you're doing. So we have one question here. What's the difference between honours and doing masters? And so honours is almost a fast track to a PhD in some respects. Whereas, so in that project, in that honours year, what you will do is there's a higher EQ requirement to get into the honours program. You will then carry out your honours project, which is the same physical amount of work or time as the research project for the masters, but it's compressed into that single year. You don't get the higher level teaching that you get in the 4th and 5th year components of the master's program. And typically people that are doing honours, are pretty committed to doing a PhD straight away, whereas the master's gives you that flexibility of choosing to end your degree or your university education at that level of masters and not continuing on. So I have another question from, so there is some genetics applications, and certainly in the biochemistry and molecular biology specializations, even though it's not strictly called genetics and genomics, there are some very genetics-based projects. So Haley is there inquiring about, there's not really some strictly speaking genetics and genomics projects, but the biochemistry and molecular biology specialization kind of covers that. As you can see here, we've got one example here of looking at the epigenetic memory in stem cells and examining epigenetic patterns and dynamics, and that's very much a genomics project. So what I'd encourage you to do, Haley, is if you enroll in that particular course, come and see me, and I can show you some examples of the kind of genetics and genomics projects that are around. The exact entry requirements for Masters versus Honours, I can't recall off the top of my head, but the best people to talk to about that are people that are involved in the Student Science Office. And I also believe there are some people available through a chat function of the event that's being held this evening that'll be able to give you information about the exact entry requirements. Yes, you can, Belinda. Belinda, you can find out what projects are available beforehand. So each year we produce an honours and masters handbook, which lists the kind of projects that are available. They are not, it's not an exclusive list of projects. And often if you find a project in there that seems kind of like what you're interested in, we really encourage students to go and talk to that supervisor and then build a project that they feel comfortable with. Often the supervisors, there's sort of, some supervisors have projects that are funded, so from a certain source, and so they have to be a certain project. Others are more flexible and they can tailor a project to fit your interests in your research areas. So certainly I'd be happy to send you a copy of the current project booklet, and you can simply get that by emailing me. Okay, I had a question about the length of time for the Masters. So there's two options there with the Masters program. And so it can either go for 18 months or 2 years. Depends on your previous research training, your previous university education, about whether you have enough of a biomedical background to meet the requirements when coming to UWA. If you've typically done your undergraduate degree at UWA, then you will probably go into the 18th month program as long as you've done the biochemistry and genetics background. A lot of students that come to us also from overseas or from other universities also get into that 18-month program. But if you haven't had a background in biomedical science, we have the conversion units, and that leads you into a 2-year master's program. I don't have the employability rates for this particular course, but I'm sure they would be available from the people that are online at the moment. So the internship, if you mean a research project, no, you go about trying to find your own supervisor and for your research project, but you're assisted by the people here at UWA. Okay, so there's a question about COVID there. So we do have some practical classes, and all our practical classes are currently running as normal at the moment at UWA. I'm not sure, as Winnie, about industrial places for bachelors of biomedical science. So here, certainly after the Masters of Biomedical Science, there is some work integrated learning courses which can be taken as part of this component, where you can be put with an industrial setting to carry out that work integrated learning experience. Okay, so all our courses should be available initially online. All our courses are available online for the Feb 2021 intake. If you're doing a research project though, it's different. So if you want to do the Masters by coursework, then you'll be fine. But when it comes to carrying out a research project, you need to physically be here in Perth. And so that's where it'll become challenging to carry out a research project. So we'd have to make some decisions there about whether you're doing Masters by coursework or Masters by research. Farah, come to UWA. Yes, so if you're interested in finishing your Bachelor of Nutrition and Dietitian and you're interested in biomedical sciences, then we can provide you with the conversion units to get you into the course of biomedical science, and you can study your Masters here. Michelle, that's a really, really interesting question. I am not the unit coordinator for neuroscience, but please send me an email and I'll direct that email directly to that person, and they'll be able to help you work out or find projects in that area. I'd be very surprised if they're not projects specifically in neuropharmacology. So it's just about connecting you to the right people. I'm sure we can do that. Okay, I think I've tried to answer everybody's questions. If I've missed you or you've asked a question and I haven't answered it properly, what does the timetable look like? Okay, so the timetable looks like it's a combination of lab class lectures and also then coursework and requirements. Specifically, if you want to see the program details, if you contact the Student Science Office, they'll be able to provide you with a research plan, and that details the coursework and course requirements for each of the specializations. And it's like a one-page document that shows all the units you'd be taking, how they'll be structured across the different semesters, and shows you when and where you'll be carrying out the different components. So I think it'd be best to probably get that, and they'll provide you with that information. Belinda, it's kind of a combination. So it is a little bit of self-directed learning. So one of the particular courses I can think of in this unit is Sci 4001, and this particular unit is designed to turn you into a student that's been given lecture material to go out and find some of that material yourself. And so we equip you with the skills to be able to go into a research environment and do your own research to answer the questions you're interested in. So it is a combination of both, and so you will pick up those skills. Oh, sorry, contact the Student Science Office or the UWA events. UWA events will show you we'll be able to provide you a link to the Student Science Office, and they will be able to help you with the program. Okay, Hayley, another question about the Masters of Biotechnology and the Masters unit. So the difference between this and the Masters in Biotechnology. Masters of Biotechnology is much more about the applications of some of these technologies in the environment. So you might think that Masters of Biotechnology with the biochemistry and molecular biology specialization has less of a focus on medicine, but more of a focus on maybe like crop plants or animal systems or those sorts of things, whereas the biomedical degree is very focused on human biomedicine. Again, some of the projects will cross over because some of the projects that are carried out in biotechnology also have applications in biomedicine, and some of the biomedicine applications eventually end up being utilized in biotechnology. So there's no really cut and fast between the two courses, but if you're interested in either for whichever reason, you're best just to contact me or contact the supervisors, and we can go from there. Okay, so I've been asked just now to wrap up. If I haven't had any, or I haven't answered any of your questions, please feel free to email me. I'm happy to answer those questions as best I can, or direct you to the people that can answer them for you. And there'll also be some of your questions being answered by the events team here at UWA. So I'd like to thank you very much for taking the time. Some really interesting questions, and really interesting to see there seems to be quite a lot of enthusiasm out there for these courses. So I'm excited to hopefully meet some of you next year when you're enrolled, and we can send you on a nice pathway of heading to become future biomedical scientists. So thank you very much for your time.